Okay, so let's unpack this.
Hmm.
We're really diving deep today.
Yeah, this is a big one, a really foundational topic.
Focusing on what feels like one of the most powerful, maybe demanding frameworks for personal transformation out there.
Definitely demand it. We're digging into Brianna Wiest's work, The Mountain is You.
Right. The mountain is you. Transforming self-sabotage into self-mastery.
And for anyone who's maybe started the audiobook, you'll know this isn't just like gentle encouragement.
No, not at all. It feels more like a psychological excavation.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
It really forces you to confront this conflict that lives inside.
And the title really says it all, doesn't it? The mountain.
It's the whole thesis right there.
This huge thing standing between you and the life you want. The relationship, the career, the peace of mind.
Whatever it is you're aiming for.
It's not actually something out there. It's not your boss or your past or the economy.
Nope. The book argues pretty forcefully that the mountain is, well, it's you. It's us. Fundamentally, it's the internal self.
Yeah, this inescapable conflict between the part of you that knows what you want, the conscious part.
And the other part, the unconscious bit that seems to be, working against you, holding you back.
Holding you back, sometimes aggressively so, and recognizing that conflict, that's the absolute starting point for any real change.
So the mountain isn't external. It grows out of these conflicting needs inside us.
Exactly. Coexisting needs, but they're pulling in opposite directions.
Yeah.
You've got the part of you looking up at the summit, wanting to get there.
Yeah.
And then there's the part clinging for dear life to the base camp, because it's familiar. It feels safer, even if it's miserable.
So the journey isn't about somehow destroying the mountain.
No, it's about reconciliation. Bringing those two parts of yourself, the conscious and the unconscious, into some kind of alignment.
Which means the real goal isn't mountain mastery.
It's self-mastery. The mountain is just the symptom. It shows you where the internal fracture is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the book frames this struggle, this difficulty, in a really interesting way, this idea of positive disintegration.
Yeah. That's crucial. It completely reframes how we look at hard times, discomfort, adversity.
We usually think discomfort is bad.
Yeah.
Something to avoid at all costs.
Absolutely. Our whole instinct is to run from it. But the argument here is that discomfort is not only okay, it's often essential. It's working for us.
Working for us? How?
Well, think about nature. The book uses the example of a forest fire.
Okay. Seems pretty destructive.
From our immediate view, yes. Devastation, loss, chaos. But ecologically, forest fires can be vital.
Vital how?
The intense heat does something amazing. It pops open certain types of seeds that literally cannot germinate without that level of trauma, that heat.
Wow. So the fire clears the way for new growth.
Exactly. It allows for rebirth, renewal, a whole new ecosystem dynamic. It's a cleansing in a way.
So when our lives feel like they're burning down, the relationship ends, a career stalls, anxiety spikes.
Mm-hmm. That existential wall you hit.
It's not necessarily failure. It could be. The heat needed to open up something new in us.
That's the idea of positive disintegration. These periodic, sometimes really agonizing episodes where the old way of being, the old self-concept.
The one built on maybe old beliefs or trauma.
Yeah, exactly. It just can't sustain the life you're trying to build anymore. The system breaks down.
And that breakdown, that's the fire.
That's the fire. That's the moment of maximum opportunity, even though it feels like the worst possible time. The fact that you have these breaks, these fault lines, it's not proof you're broken.
It's proof you can grow.
It's proof you have immense potential for growth, for redesign. It's actually the prerequisite for the breakthrough. You need the cracks for the light to get in, so to speak.
So the message is, being imperfect is okay. In fact, it's necessary.
Thank goodness for it. Those imperfections, those struggles, they're what allow the next evolution. The hard part is just admitting that the person holding you back, well, it's the one staring back from the mirror.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot to take in right from the start. All right. So if the mountain is us, let's start breaking down what that mountain is made of. Self-sabotage seems to be the bedrock.
It really is. And this is where, like you said, it gets really interesting. Because the way we usually think about self-sabotage...
And it's because we hate ourselves, or we're weak, lack willpower.
Right. That whole narrative. The book argues that's a fundamental misunderstanding.
Okay, so if it's not self-hatred, what is it?
It's framed as a coping mechanism. An intelligently designed one, even if it's maladaptive.
Intelligently designed. How?
It argues that self-sabotage happens is because there's an unconscious need that the behavior is actually fulfilling.
An unconscious need. So like procrastination or the overspending or picking fights,
Yeah.
that's meeting some hidden need.
Yes, your subconscious is trying to handle some displaced emotion or get a need met in the quickest, most familiar way it knows how, even if that way causes problems elsewhere.
So it's choosing a familiar pain over
Right.
an unknown future.
Pretty much. A known discomfort over an unknown potential, which feels scary. And the book uses that great historical anecdote about Carl Jung to illustrate this.
Yes, the fainting spells. Tell us about that.
Right. So Jung, as a kid, he takes a tumble at school, hits his head, minor injury.
Okay.
But after that, he starts having these uncontrollable fainting spells. A neurosis, basically.
And he figured out why later.
Yes. He realized his subconscious had made this connection totally irrational but effective. Fainting, getting out of school.
And school was a place he felt uncomfortable, unhappy.
Deeply unhappy, inadequate. He didn't like it there. So the fainting became, in his words, a substitute for legitimate suffering.
Meaning, instead of dealing with the actual discomfort of school.
His subconscious cooked up this physical escape route, the fainting spell.
Wow, okay. And that's how self-sabotage works for us as adults.
That's the parallel. It lets us cope, lets us get some temporary relief, maybe numb a difficult truth or desire without having to face the deeper, harder underlying issue head on.
So when we try to just use willpower, like, I'm just going to stop procrastinating.
It rarely works long term
Yeah.
because the impulse, the drive behind the procrastination or the spending or the relationship drama, it keeps coming back.
Until we figure out why the subconscious cooked it up in the first place.
Exactly. You can't just treat the symptom, you have to find the root cause.
Yes.
What need is this behavior serving?
And accepting that premise
Mm-hmm.
that our destructive habits might be trying to help us in a
Yeah.
weird way. That's the key.
It's a huge shift. It moves you from self-blame to self-investigation. Your subconscious isn't trying to destroy you, it thinks it's protecting you. So what is it protecting you from?
Okay. Can we talk about some common ways this shows up, these maladaptive coping mechanisms?
Oh, absolutely. They're everywhere, often hiding in plain sight.
Like in relationships.
Definitely. Think about someone who constantly blows up good relationships, picks fights, pushes partners away just when things get serious.
Yeah. We usually say they're afraid of commitment.
Right. But the unconscious need driving that sabotage might be something else entirely. Maybe it's a deep need to find themselves, to develop autonomy, or heal old attachment stuff.
But doing that consciously, like being single and working on yourself,
Yeah.
that feels scary.
Terrifying, maybe? The discomfort of being alone is the thing they're avoiding. So sabotaging the relationship, it creates space, forces independence.
But in a really messy, painful way.
Exactly. It meets the need indirectly, avoids the intentional discomfort, but leaves wreckage behind. It's a quick fix, not a real solution.
What about career sabotage?
Similar dynamic. You consciously want the promotion, or you want to launch the business. You say you want it,
Right.
but you keep missing deadlines. You avoid the key meeting. You delay the launch. Your actions don't match your stated goals.
So what's the hidden need there?
Maybe unconsciously, you desperately want something else entirely, like a creative path, art, writing, music.
That feels too risky, too vulnerable.
Right. Maybe you fear judgment, financial instability, putting yourself out there. So sabotaging the safe success, the corporate climb.
It keeps you stuck, but it also protects you from having to face the creative fear.
Precisely. The inner conflict gets sort of neutralized by making sure neither path really happens.
Wow. Okay. And you mentioned even the healing journey itself can be sabotaged.
Oh, for sure. This is a subtle one. People who get really into psychoanalyzing everything.
Reading all the books, journaling constantly, endless therapy, talking about the feelings.
Yes. The intellectualizing becomes the new coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It feels productive, like you're dealing with it.
But you're not actually feeling the feelings.
Exactly. You're building this elaborate intellectual scaffold around the pain, the grief, the anger, which keeps you from having to actually move through the messy, uncomfortable process of emotional release and integration.
So analyzing becomes a substitute for feeling. Control over experience.
Perfectly put. Control over experience.
So the takeaway here is the fix isn't stopping the behavior itself, it's finding the hidden need.
Always. Because if you just stop the behavior, the coping mechanism, without addressing that underlying need,
It'll just plop up somewhere else.
the need will find a new outlet, often a more destructive one. You have to stop fighting the mountains, stop fighting the symptom, and start looking at the internal fault lines that created it in the first place.
Okay, let's go deeper then. What are the main psychological drivers behind this cycle? The book talks about irrational fear as a big one.
Yeah, that's driver number one. And the key is that it often shows up as a surface problem, but the real fear is something much deeper, more fundamental.
And if you only treat the surface thing,
You're just going to keep hitting the same wall over and over. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid when you haven't even figured out how to stop the bleeding underneath.
we focus on the symptom because it's obvious, tangible.
Exactly. But we ignore the source because looking at it is uncomfortable, maybe even scary.
The book uses the example of anxiety, right? Specifically, like anxiety about being a passenger in a car.
Yeah, it's a great illustration. Someone has intense anxiety, panic maybe, just riding in a car when someone else is driving.
So all their effort goes into trying to manage that trigger, the
Yep.
car, the motion.
Right. Deep breathing in the car, maybe avoiding highways, stuff like that. But the book suggests the fear is almost never really about the car itself.
So what is it about?
It could be a metaphor. The underlying irrational fear might be about a loss of control in their life more broadly.
Because they're not steering.
Exactly. Or maybe it's a fear of moving forward too quickly in life, which feels threatening to the subconscious.
So if you don't realize that connection,
You'll keep battling the car anxiety. And it might even get worse because you're fundamentally ignoring the real message your subconscious is trying to send you about your life path.
the panic attack in the passenger seat is like a garbled message saying, I feel out of control, or I need to slow down.
Something like that, yeah. The physical symptom is a symbol, a dramatic, maybe clumsy representation of a deeper emotional conflict that you haven't decoded yet.
And until you decode it, the sabotage in this case, the anxiety limiting your movement, continues.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the second driver? It has to do with our self-concept.
Driver 2 is all about these unconscious negative associations we carry. Our self-concept, who we think we are, what we think we deserve, it's built up over a lifetime.
From parents, friends, school, media.
All those inputs. And they create these core beliefs. Then our brain, loving consistency, uses confirmation bias to constantly look for evidence that reinforces those old beliefs.
Even if the beliefs are limiting, like I'm not good enough or I don't deserve success.
Especially then. So when we self-sabotage, it's often because we have an unconscious negative association linked to the very thing we think we want.
Okay, the example about money and financial stability really hits home here.
It's a classic. Let's say you grew up hearing messages, maybe subtle, maybe not so subtle.
Like your parents arguing about money or just comments about rich people.
Yeah. Messages that rich people are greedy, selfish, unhappy, morally corrupt, whatever. If that gets wired in,
You'll struggle to make money yourself.
immensely. Because deep down, acquiring wealth feels like it would mean becoming one of those people. A bad person.
So your subconscious sabotage, the overspending, the missed opportunities, it's trying to protect your identity as a good person.
Exactly. You're caught in this internal battle between your conscious desire for financial security and your unconscious need to maintain your moral self-image.
Wow. That's a much bigger conflict than just needing a budget.
Oh, absolutely. It's a
Well-
deep values conflict. But the book pushes back hard on this.
How so?
It basically asks, if there are unethical people using money poorly, doesn't that make it even more crucial for good, ethical, conscientious people to gain financial resources?
So the power doesn't just stay in the wrong hands.
Right. Money is a tool. It's power. We need people with integrity wielding that power.
So the resolution is to break that faulty association. Money isn't inherently bad.
It's neutral. It buys time, safety, choices, the ability to help others. You have to decouple wealth from moral failure in your mind. Realize that having resources gives you more capacity to do good, not less.
And this applies elsewhere too, like with health.
Definitely. Why would someone sabotage getting healthy?
Yeah.
It seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But maybe they have an unconscious association linking health with vulnerability.
How could that happen?
Perhaps a seemingly strong, healthy parent or loved one got suddenly devastatingly ill.
So it creates this trauma link. Health, unexpected danger.
Exactly. The survival brain mistakenly flags vitality itself as a risk. It thinks, if I stay just a little bit unhealthy, maybe I'm safer from that sudden shock.
So the subconscious nudges you towards junk food or skipping the gym as a weird form of protection.
Strange as it sounds, yes. The resolution, again, is challenging that core belief. Realizing that being healthy actually makes you less vulnerable, more resilient, better equipped to handle life's hits.
Okay, this is deep stuff. And it connects to the third driver, doesn't it? This resistance to the unfamiliar, the upper limit.
Yes, absolutely. Kay Hendricks's concept of the upper limit is a huge piece of this puzzle.
Explain that again. What is the upper limit?
It's basically your internal thermostat setting for how much happiness, success, or general goodness you're comfortable experiencing on a daily basis.
We all have one, a baseline tolerance.
We all have one, and when things get better than that baseline, you get a promotion, fall in love, have a breakthrough, even though it's positive.
It feels weird, uncomfortable.
It feels unfamiliar, and the brain, especially the older parts wired for survival, interprets unfamiliarity not just as new, but potentially as wrong or dangerous. We confuse the discomfort of the foreign with being unsafe.
That's the really counterintuitive part. We think we want happiness, but we're actually wired for
Familiarity, comfort, even if that comfort zone is actually quite miserable, comfortable misery feels safer than unfamiliar joy.
which explains why people sometimes wreck good things when they happen.
Exactly. Crossing that threshold triggers unconscious sabotage. The brain tries to pull you back down to the familiar, comfortable setting on the thermostat.
And it's not always dramatic sabotage, right?
Often it's subtle. Hendricks talks about this. You hit your upper limit. Maybe you feel really good about your work, and then suddenly you pick a stupid fight with your partner.
Or get sick. Or start overspending.
Yes. Or procrastinate on the next step. Your subconscious creates a problem, generates some stress or drama to lower the overall level of goodness back to what feels normal and manageable. It's like emotional homeostasis gone wrong.
Okay, so if our brains are wired to pull us back, how do we actually push past that limit and stay there? How do we raise the thermostat setting?
The key is slow acclimation, microshifts.
Not big, sudden leaps.
Big leaps often trigger massive resistance. Too much unfamiliarity too fast, the upper limit kicks in hard. Instead, you make tiny, consistent adjustments.
Like turning the thermostat up just 1 degree at a time.
Exactly. Instead of trying to radically overhaul your life overnight, you make small, sustainable changes, 1 or 2 degrees. Compounded over time, these microshifts gradually make the new, higher level of well-being feel familiar.
And once it feels familiar,
The subconscious accepts it as safe. The baseline has been permanently adjusted. It's about patience and consistency, not dramatic breakthroughs.
okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty of specific sabotaging behaviors, the book really stresses something called the clarity mandate.
Yes. Absolutely critical first step. You have to get out of denial
Denial about the problem itself.
about the reality of your situation. The book calls gaining clarity the greatest, most profound act of self-love you can perform, because you can't change what you refuse to see.
So no more minimizing or making excuses.
No more settling. You have to state the problem plainly. No euphemisms, no sugarcoating. Denial, the book argues, is toxic because it keeps you emotionally dissociated. You know things aren't right, but you won't look directly at why.
So practically, what does that look like if it's finances?
You write it all down, every debt, every asset, income, expenses. Look at the real numbers, even if it's painful.
If it's anxiety?
List the triggers. Name the specific fears. What exactly bothers you? What situations do you avoid?
Get it out of the vague fog of I'm stressed and into concrete terms.
Precisely. Move from denial to clarity. And then you face a profound choice.
Which is?
Either you consciously decide to make peace with things exactly as they are, accept them fully, or you commit, truly commit, to changing them.
It's the staying stuck in the middle that's the problem.
That limbo state. The hoping without acting, the complaining without committing, that's what keeps you spinning your wheels on the mountain slope. Declaring, this is not acceptable anymore, I will not continue like this. That's the foundation for everything else.
Okay. Powerful. So let's look at some specific ways self-sabotage shows up, starting with one that often gets disguised as a good thing, perfectionism.
Perfectionism. The ultimate shield.
We think it's about high standards, wanting things to be great.
Right. But the book argues it's almost never about that. It's rooted in fear.
Fear what?
Fear of failure, definitely. Fear of judgment, fear of vulnerability, fear of not being good enough, of being exposed as flawed or incompetent.
So the perfectionism stops you from even starting or finishing.
Exactly. It paralyzes you. You wait for the perfect conditions, the perfect idea, the perfect draft, which of course never arrive.
Because the real goal isn't perfection, it's avoidance.
It hinders the most crucial thing for mastery, which is showing up repeatedly, imperfectly. learning through doing. Perfectionism prevents that iterative process.
So what's the resolution? How do you break that?
You have to consciously shift your focus from perfection to progress.
Small steps.
Tiny steps. The advice is super practical. Don't try to write the perfect novel. Just write 500 words today. Don't aim for the flawless product launch. Launch the 80% version and iterate.
Get it out there.
Get it out there. Allow yourself to be messy, to be a beginner, to make mistakes. Mastery comes from the willingness to show up imperfectly again and again and again.
Okay. Next pattern. Uprooting. Constantly needing a fresh start.
Yeah, this one is about avoiding permanence and conflict resolution.
Changing jobs, cities, relationships, constantly.
Always looking for that clean slate. The pattern is being really comfortable and energized by the beginning of things, the new job buzz, the honeymoon phase, the excitement of a new town.
But never sticking around long enough for things to get deep or difficult.
Exactly. You never allow yourself to truly root, to blossom, to finish the chapter, because that requires navigating the inevitable conflicts, challenges, and deeper layers of commitment that come with staying put.
So the energy that should go into fixing the problem
Gets diverted into the temporary excitement and distraction of starting over somewhere else.
it feels like progress, but it's actually running away.
Precisely. You swap the discomfort of the old, known problem for the discomfort of the new, unfamiliar situation, which feels like action, but it's avoidance.
But how do you know if it's this pattern versus genuinely needing to leave a bad situation? Sometimes the job is toxic.
Right. That's the million-dollar question, and it requires that clarity we talked about. The key is the pattern.
Looking back.
Yeah. Look at your last few jobs, your last few relationships. Did they all end for fundamentally similar reasons? Feeling undervalued, boundary issues, running into the same kind of conflict.
If the common denominator is you.
Then the problem is likely internal, and uprooting won't solve it. It'll just follow you.
So the resolution.
First, recognize the pattern. Second, get crystal clear on your actual long-term goals. What does a stable, fulfilling situation look like? And third, the hardest part, when that urge to flee hits, when things get uncomfortable.
You stay.
You stay. You sit with the discomfort. You force yourself to confront why you're so uncomfortable with long-term commitment or conflict resolution. That's where the real growth happens.
Okay. Another common one. Disorganization. Seems minor, maybe.
Yeah.
Just being messy.
The book argues it's rarely just minor. It serves a powerful, unconscious purpose. Creating excuses.
Excuses for what?
For not doing the real work. Think about it. A clean, organized workspace. It removes all the little "I just need to" tasks.
The clearing, the filing, the tidying.
Right. When all that's done, you're faced with the main task, the important project, the thing that actually requires focus and maybe feels intimidating.
And that can feel unsettling.
Yeah. There's an uneasy feeling, maybe, that comes with, okay, no more excuses, time to actually do the thing. So keeping your space chaotic.
It keeps you perpetually just a few tasks away from starting.
Exactly. I can't focus until I clean my desk. My inbox is too full to think. The chaos becomes a buffer zone, protecting you from confronting your potential or the challenging work ahead.
The clutter is a wall against ambition. Wow.
Pretty much. So the resolution isn't just get organized, it starts small.
Like the micro shifts.
Yes. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. Tackle one drawer, one corner, set up a tiny, sustainable routine 5 minutes a day. Make your space work for you, not against you. Removing the physical chaos clears mental space, too. It removes the excuse.
Okay. What about judging others? How is criticizing successful people a form of self-sabotage?
This one's deep. When you consistently villainize people who have what you claim to want, money, success, happy relationships, whatever.
You're reinforcing that negative association we talked about earlier.
Precisely. If you decide successful people are jerks or happy couples are fake, you create an internal rule. To be good authentic, I cannot be successful happy in that way.
So your subconscious blocks you from achieving it to protect your identity.
Yes. You're sabotaging your own potential much more than you're hurting the person you're judging. You're essentially giving yourself permission to stay stuck, to stay small, because at least I'm not like them.
It's a defense mechanism.
Totally. So the fix is counterintuitive.
Which is?
When you see someone succeeding in a way you desire, consciously practice congratulating them, even just internally. Acknowledge their success positively.
How does that help?
It starts to rewire that negative association. It tells your subconscious, see, success like that is possible, maybe even good. It doesn't automatically make someone bad. It opens you up to receiving similar success without that internal conflict.
Interesting. Okay, last one in this section. Guilt of succeeding.
Yeah, this is really common for people who move from scarcity to having enough or even abundance.
Especially if they grew up without much or people they care about are still struggling.
Exactly. There's this intense discomfort, this feeling of, I don't deserve this, or it's not fair that I have this when others don't.
And that guilt leads to sabotage.
Absolutely. Reckless spending to get rid of the money. Becoming complacent at work. Finding ways to knock yourself back down to a more familiar, less guilty level of having just enough or not quite enough, trying to subconsciously balance the scales.
So what's the mind shift needed here?
You have to fundamentally redefine what success and money are. Stop seeing them as just status symbols or markers of personal worth.
See them as tools.
Exactly. Tools, resources, they buy you time. They give you options. They allow you to help others, support causes, create opportunities, provide security for your family.
So having more isn't selfish. It can actually increase your positive impact.
That's the reframe. Especially during that transition from not enough to enough. Shifting your perspective to see your success as a means to contribute more, not just had more, helps dissolve that guilt.
Okay, moving on. This whole journey seems deeply tied to emotional intelligence. The book says triggers aren't just annoyances.
Far from it. They're incredibly valuable guides, like little flashing arrows pointing directly to where unresolved pain is stored inside you.
And they tell us about our deeper needs, too.
Yes. Our negative emotions, the ones we usually try to suppress or ignore, they're actually carrying important messages.
But we're taught to, like, just get over it or push it down.
Right. Shoot the messenger. But when you bury those feelings, instead of listening to their wisdom, they don't go away. They fester. They become chronic tension, physical symptoms, hypersensitivity. We have to learn to decode the signals.
Let's decode a couple of big ones. Anger, often seen as purely negative.
Yeah, we're taught anger is bad, destructive. And it can be, if it's just projected outward onto others. That's its shadow side.
But its core function.
The book describes anger as an influx of pure, powerful motivation.
Motivation. For what?
Motivation to change something that needs changing, either internally within yourself or externally in your circumstances. It's often that peak state you hit right before making a major life shift, that I've had enough moment.
That fire in the belly.
Exactly. When we don't recognize it as internal fuel for constructive action, we suppress it. And that pent-up energy turns toxic bitterness, resentment, cynicism, aggression.
Okay. What about jealousy? That feels particularly nasty.
It does feel nasty. But like anger, it's often misunderstood. The book calls it a cover-up emotion.
Covering up what?
It usually presents as anger or resentment towards someone else, but underneath, it's typically sadness, dissatisfaction with your own life, a feeling of lack or inadequacy.
So the person I'm jealous of.
They're basically holding up a mirror to your own unfulfilled desires. If you want a crystal clear roadmap to what you really want, but maybe aren't letting yourself pursue, look at who makes you intensely jealous.
Wow. So instead of condemning them,
You should be taking notes. Their success is showing you a path you're drawn to, but perhaps too afraid to take yourself. Using jealousy to criticize is destructive. Using it as a compass for your own suppressed desires, that's its transformative potential.
okay. Shifting from emotions to deeper drives. The book talks about core commitments versus core needs. This sounds crucial.
Absolutely crucial. This gets right to the root of the mountain, the source of the internal conflict.
So what's a core commitment?
It's your primary, often unconscious, operating objective in life. You can usually spot it by looking at the patterns of your biggest struggles or recurring issues.
But it's not necessarily a good thing.
Often, it's a maladaptive strategy. It's designed to protect or compensate for an unmet core need. And here's the twist. The commitment is usually the polar opposite of the actual need.
Okay, walk me through the examples. The first one relates to control.
Right. If you have a deep, driving, subconscious commitment to being in control, needing to manage everything, micromanage people, plan endlessly, resist spontaneity.
It seems like it comes from a need for security, right?
You'd think so, but the underlying core need it's desperately trying and failing to meet is actually trust.
Trust. How does that work?
The less you fundamentally trust the process, trust others, trust that things will work out, trust that you're supported, the more desperately you cling to the illusion of control. The commitment to control flares up precisely because the need for trust is starved.
So needing to control your partner isn't about loving them. It's about not trusting them to stay or care unless managed.
Exactly. You substitute control for genuine vulnerability and trust-based connection. Okay, second pairing.
The commitment to being needed.
Yes. If your core commitment is to being needed, you're always drawn to fixing broken people, being the indispensable one at work, overextending yourself to help.
What's the unmet need there?
The core need is usually to know that you are genuinely wanted.
Wanted versus needed. That's a subtle but huge difference.
Huge. You unconsciously engineer situations where people have to rely on you because you don't trust that they would simply want you for who you are without the function you perform. You're seeking validation through utility.
Wow. Okay. And the third pairing?
A core commitment to being loved by others. This drives people-pleasing, seeking external validation, performing for approval, maybe hiding your competence so others don't feel threatened.
All that effort to get love from the outside? What's the real need?
The real starved core need is self-love. Deep down, you don't feel inherently lovable or worthy, so you constantly seek proof from the outside. The less you cultivate genuine self-acceptance and self-love, the louder and more desperate the commitment to external validation becomes.
These are deep. Recognizing your core commitment helps you see the core need you've been neglecting.
Precisely. And feeding the need directly is the only way to quiet the dysfunctional commitment.
This all requires really tuning into our internal signals, which brings up distinguishing instinct from fear, or what the book calls psychic thinking.
Yeah, this is vital. Because our actions shouldn't always follow our feelings. Feelings are often just reacting to familiarity or comfort, not reality or what's best long-term.
So we need to know which signal to trust. How do we recognize true instinct, that gut feeling?
Instinct is usually subtle, quiet. It's not the screaming panic voice.
A little voice.
Yeah, maybe. And crucially, instinct operates only in the present moment. It doesn't spin wild future stories. It's an immediate, quiet knowing or nudge.
Like feeling suddenly drained around someone.
Yeah.
Or just knowing something isn't right.
Exactly. An instant energetic read of the situation. It's often a response to your environment, processed by your body's intelligence, the enteric nervous system, the second brain, faster than your conscious mind can analyze. It's a reaction, not a prolonged state like worry.
Okay, contrast that with fear, or this psychic thinking.
Psychic thinking is basically a cognitive distortion dressed up as intuition. It's when you project into the future, assume you know what others are thinking.
Mind reading.
Yeah, mind reading. Or jumping to the absolute worst-case scenario and believing it's inevitable just because the feeling of panic is strong.
And it feels loud, hectic.
Very loud, panic-inducing. And it's always focused on the future or interpreting others' hidden motives. It's your brain trying to predict and prevent future pain, but it does so by detaching you from present reality and locking you into a cycle of worry.
Okay. And this connects to something really surprising the book says about anxiety, that it's not always overthinking.
Right. This blew my mind a bit. We usually assume anxiety comes from thinking too much, ruminating endlessly.
Yeah.
But the argument here is that often anxiety stems from underthinking, or at least insufficient critical thinking.
Underthinking.
We engage in rapid, shallow thinking. We make a logical leap. We jump straight from a small piece of data to a catastrophic conclusion without actually thinking it through critically or looking for alternative explanations.
And that leap triggers the body's alarm system.
Yes. The fight-or-flight response kicks in based on an illogical, hastily drawn conclusion, not a carefully considered threat.
And the book says intelligent people might be more prone to this.
Paradoxically, yes, because smart people are often very good at inferring meaning, seeing patterns, reading between the lines.
Which is usually a strength.
It is. But that same skill can lead to making faulty inferences when anxiety takes the wheel.
Give me an example.
Okay, say you get a short, maybe slightly curt email from your boss. That's the data. Valid evidence.
Okay.
A faulty inference jumps immediately. My boss is mad at me. Then another leap. I must have screwed up. Leap again. I'm definitely getting fired. Leap. Everyone here secretly dislikes me.
Wow, okay. That escalated quickly.
Exactly. That rapid cascade is the logical lapse. Huge, unsubstantiated jumps based on minimal evidence. The intense anxiety you feel isn't a rational response to the curt email. It's your body reacting to the terrifying manufactured story your inferential brain just spun. Underthinking, not overthinking.
Okay, so we understand the mechanisms. Now, how do we actually move forward? The book points out our brains are kind of wired to resist success because of dopamine.
Yeah, the dopamine paradox.
Mm-hmm.
This draws on work like Daniel Lieberman's The Molecule of More. It flips our understanding of dopamine.
We think it's the pleasure chemical, right? The reward.
We do. But it's more nuanced. Dopamine isn't primarily about the pleasure of having something. It's the neurochemical driver of wanting more. It fuels anticipation, seeking, novelty, the chase.
So the excitement is in the pursuit, not the arrival.
Largely, yes. Once you actually achieve the big goal, land the dream job, finish the marathon, get the relationship, the dopamine surge often drops off pretty quickly. And then your brain, driven by that dopamine circuit, immediately starts looking for the next thing to want, the next mountain to climb.
Which our conscious mind kind of resists. We want to reach the goal and then relax, coast.
We think we do. We imagine achieving the goal will bring lasting satisfaction and ease. But neurologically, the system is built for perpetual striving.
So the brain actually finds having less stimulating than wanting.
In many ways, yes. If you're wired for the thrill of the chase, the moment of attainment can feel almost anticlimactic. Or worse, it brings up new challenges. Maintaining the success requires different skills, consistency, routine, management, which might be less dopamine-rich than the initial creation or pursuit.
So we might unconsciously sabotage having because it's less exciting or because success just puts pressure on us to keep growing.
Both are possible. Success demands we become better versions of ourselves to sustain it, and that ongoing change is inherently uncomfortable, checkering that upper limit resistance.
Okay, so if big breakthroughs are neurologically tricky and maybe trigger resistance, the path forward is those microshifts again.
Exactly. You don't change your life in one giant leap. You change it through tiny, consistent, almost unnoticeable adjustments, compounded over time.
It's about principle, not passion.
That's the core message. Transformation is governed by principle, by the reliable laws of cause and effect, not by fleeting bursts of passion or motivation.
Passion is the dopamine rush.
Yeah, the excitement of the new idea, but principles are like gravity. They just work, whether you feel passionate or not. Think of the law of the harvest. You reap what you consistently sow.
So swap chasing motivation for building discipline around principles, like that penny doubling example.
Perfect analogy. Would you rather have $1 million right now or a single penny that doubles in value every day for 31 days?
The penny, right. It ends up being way more, like over 10 million.
Exactly. The power of compounding. That's the microshift strategy. You don't shock your system trying to go from 0 to hero overnight.
Like forcing yourself to wake up at 5 a.m. for the gym when you're used to 8.
That triggers huge resistance. The upper limit screams danger. But maybe 15 minutes of stretching when you wake up? Consistently.
That's doable. It's a microshift.
Right. It slowly adjusts your baseline. It makes the new behavior familiar, normal, safe for the subconscious. You have to generate momentum through small, consistent actions. The motivation follows the action, not the other way around.
Okay. This ties into another concept, the mind being anti-fragile, not just resilient, but needing challenges.
Yes, anti-fragile. Like our immune system getting stronger after exposure to germs or muscles growing after being stressed. The mind, the book argues, requires adversity and resistance to strengthen.
So if life gets too comfortable, too easy.
The mind doesn't just relax. If it's not facing real external challenges, it will often start to create internal ones to satisfy its need for stimulation for a workout.
Like worry, catastrophizing, overthinking minor issues.
Exactly. Existential dread, creating drama. It's like the mind is saying, give me something real to chew on. It needs resistance. It needs a heavy lift.
We manufacture internal problems because our external environment is too predictable or safe.
It's a common pattern. So mental strength isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about consciously choosing worthwhile challenges.
Leaning into discomfort for a purpose.
Yes. Engaging with real problems, the difficult project, the demanding relationship work, the community issue, because avoiding resistance actually makes you more fragile, more prone to anxiety and panic when small things go wrong. You choose the constructive discomfort of growth over the destructive discomfort of stagnation and manufactured worry.
Which brings us back to living by principles.
Because principles provide the framework for choosing those worthwhile challenges and navigating them consistently.
Remind us of the difference between principles and, say, values or goals.
Principles are described as objective, fundamental truths about how things work, like gravity or sowing and reaping or compound interest. They operate whether you believe in them or not.
Whereas values are more subjective. What's important to me?
Right. And inspiration or passion is fleeting. Principles provide a reliable compass. They shift your focus from short-term feelings, how do I feel right now, to long-term thriving. What consistent actions based on proven principles will create the life I want in 5 years?
So identify your core values first, like health or connection or financial freedom.
Yes. Get clear on what truly matters to you.
And then build non-negotiable principles around those values.
Exactly. If you value health, a principle might be I prioritize sleep or I move my body daily. If you value financial freedom, principles might be I pay myself first or I live below my means.
And sticking to the principle removes the daily battle of willpower.
Largely, yes. It becomes less about do I feel like it and more about this is the principle I operate by. It automates constructive behavior based on objective laws, not subjective moods.
Okay. Finally, the really big one. Dealing with the past. Letting go of trauma, heartbreak, regrets. The book says you can't just force yourself to let go.
No, trying to force letting go often makes you grip it tighter. It becomes another form of resistance.
So how do you let go?
It's presented as an organic byproduct of building something new.
A new life.
A new life. A new present and future that is so engaging, so meaningful, so compelling that the past gradually loses its emotional charge and its grip on your attention.
You don't erase the past, you just make it irrelevant to who you are now.
Exactly. The new life, new routines, new goals, new relationships, new ways of thinking become so much more interesting and require so much of your focus that the old stories simply fade into the background. They become chapters you've read, not the book you're currently living.
That makes sense. Build the new,
Yeah.
and the old takes care of itself. But there was also a specific technique mentioned for dealing with lingering emotional charge from specific memories.
Yes. A powerful psychological reframing technique.
How does it work?
You intentionally re-enter the painful memory, not just to passively relive it, but actively. Close your eyes, locate the feeling in your body that's the portal to the memory's energy.
Okay, you're back in that difficult moment. Then what?
Then you bring in a new element. You visualize your future self, the healed, wise, self-mastered version of you that you are becoming.
And that future self interacts with your younger self in the memory.
Yes. Your future self sits beside your younger, hurting self in that moment of pain, trauma, or heartbreak, and offers comfort, wisdom, reassurance. Saying things like, I know this hurts intensely right now, but you will get through this. Everything is going to be okay. This experience was actually necessary for you to become who I am today. Here's what you need to do right now to feel a little safer, a little stronger.
So you're actively changing the narrative of the memory, imposing a story of resilience and future healing onto the past pain.
Exactly. It's a complex cognitive reframe. It acknowledges the reality of the past pain, but shifts the emotional association. It allows that wounded part of you to feel seen, validated, and connected to your present strength and future hope.
It turns you from victim of the past event to the hero who guided yourself through it.
Beautifully put. It's an act of self-compassion and self-rescue. It integrates the past without letting it define your present capacity.
And that integration is key. It's not about pretending it didn't happen.
Never. Ruminating on the past doesn't always mean you want to go back. Often it just means the impact was deeper than you acknowledged, and it needs to be fully processed, emotionally and energetically, not just intellectually dismissed. This technique helps with that integration. Hashtag tag tag outro.
Wow. Okay, so bringing this all together, this journey from self-sabotage to self-mastery, it really boils down to radical self-responsibility, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It starts with that often difficult realization, okay, the biggest thing holding me back wasn't external circumstances. It was these unconscious patterns within me.
And the flip side of that is empowering. If I was responsible for holding myself back,
then you are absolutely 100% capable of moving yourself forward. The power was always internal.
And mastery isn't about luck or waiting for inspiration to strike.
Not at all. It's built on deliberate action, consistent, disciplined action. It's about meticulous planning, understanding the principles, and applying them. And it's about fiercely prioritizing the quality of this one life you have.
Being willing to feel the uncomfortable feelings.
Yes. Feeling what you're afraid to feel, and refusing to tolerate less than you're capable of, refusing mediocrity, not for one more second.
And we need to redefine mental strength. It's not about being happy all the time or having a stress-free life.
That's a total fantasy. Nobody has that. True mental strength is about developing the capacity to process difficult emotions, grief, anger, fear, sadness efficiently, without getting completely derailed or stuck in them for long periods.
And it's about planning.
Yes. Developing rational, principle-based plans for the things that scare you or challenge you. Anxiety thrives in ambiguity and perceived helplessness.
But when you have a plan, even a small one,
the anxiety naturally decreases because preparation and competence are what create real safety, not worry. Worry is just spinning your wheels mentally without a strategy.
So the energy shifts, away from worrying about things outside your control,
Like what others think, or past mistakes, or future uncertainties.
and towards focusing intensely on what is within your control.
Your habits, your actions today, the principles you choose to live by, your mindset, your responses, that's where your power lies. Channel all your energy there.
It sounds like letting go of the need to be liked by everyone, too.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge energy drain, driven by that core commitment to external validation. Self-mastery involves choosing authenticity over approval, choosing to be truly seen by the few who matter, rather than trying to manage the perceptions of the many.
And when you commit to this level of self-awareness and action, the places where you were broken actually become sources of strength.
That's the beautiful paradox. The mountain you had to climb, the internal battles you fought and won, they strengthen you in ways that an easy, untouched path never could. Your resilience is forged in the fire.
So the final thought for everyone listening, reflecting on their own mountain, what does this all really mean?
It means that the very thing that felt like your biggest curse, your most painful struggle, your source of shame, might actually have been the most profound gift.
A mountain was a gift.
In a way, yes. Your struggles, your self-sabotage, your pain, they weren't trying to destroy you. They were desperately trying to signal you,
Signal what?
showing you the immense risk of staying small, the danger of your potential remaining untapped, the cost of living a life out of alignment with your true self, the price of staying shackled to old beliefs and faulty associations.
So true healing comes from what?
From realizing that imperfection isn't just okay, it's required for growth. Nature thrives on it.
Like the fault lines making mountains.
Exactly. Fault lines create mountains. Stars have to implode to become supernovas. Destruction often precedes creation. Your struggles, your fears, your deepest pains were simply pointing the way toward a larger, more authentic, more realized future.
All you have to do now
Is choose to heed the signal, trust the process, and start the long, patient, rewarding walk up your own mountain toward self-mastery.